Hey guys, it's Rebel Builder. Welcome to episode 2 of building a minifigure scale AT-M6. This week we're actually going to look at some real building. I'll show that to you in a minute. I'll put it on the table and kind of highlight some of the details I've been working on and kind of part of my thought process here. I want to start off by kind of addressing a question I got from the first video, which is really kind of flattering actually, is some people were already asking if I intended to make instructions for this. First of all, that's a huge compliment. You hadn't even seen anything actually built. That's a huge vote of confidence for me. So to those of you that are already asking for that, thank you. But that really leads me to talk about part of my design process and some of the complications with making Lego instructions. Is to make instructions, you have to build the model digitally in Lego Digital Designer or some other program. My TIE Fighter instructions, I've always used Lego Digital Designer, and then I export it to another program to actually create the instructions. But when I design, when I build physically. I'm here at my table and I got parts and I'm just trying things out, trial and error. For my job, I'm in front of a computer and I'm actually 3D modeling different things for my job. So as a hobby, the last thing I want to do is come home and design Legos in the computer. I'm not criticizing people who do that or saying anything bad. It's just my preference. My escape, my hobby is me coming down here, just working with my hands. And there is another aspect too, that you can do certain connections in the computer that will technically work, but it may not work in the real world as far as like weight and strength and things like that. So there's an aspect of physics that you only get from building things in real life with real bricks. So going back to the first question, will I build instructions for this? I don't know. Number one, let's see if I finish this build. And let's see how it turns out, if I'm confident about it, if I really like how it turns out, if the response is good. That's something we'll talk about at a later date. But in this one, I'm going to put the build. You can see what I've kind of got going here on my table. We'll light it up and kind of walk you through some of the things I've been thinking about and working on. And also, I don't really want to turn this into like a question and answer kind of series, but if you do have creative process questions or questions about the build itself that you think would be good in this series, put those down in the comments and I'll see if I can incorporate some of those as we go along. Okay, now here we are. This is what I have built so far. So really, I'm working on the main body panel, which goes on the right side of the AT-M6. Ignore the Duplo. This is just really, some scaffolding or some props to kind of build this thing up so I can set it almost like a temporary stand. It is kind of crazy. I've got this on my table with my little turntable here, which I normally, have filmed my reviews and things like that. And already this thing takes up a lot of space. And I'm sure perspective is going to be hard here, so I'm going to throw these guys in there. Those are my two pilots and the commander, so you can get a size of scale and just how tall this is. The AT-M6 looks like it only has a crew of 5. It's got 2 drivers, 2 gun operators, and the commander. So I'm intending to include those, and it also has room along here on the inside for 12 stormtroopers. But what I've done so far is I've laid this down on my blueprint that I showed you in the last video, and I've reworked and reworked and reworked things to get the geometry right. The right slopes, the right angles, and I'm not done yet, but this is where I'm at so far. I'm trying to kind of throw in some details like these little vents. You can see these are light bluish gray and these are dark. I'm just kind of experimenting. I'm also kind of open to the idea of throwing in, light bluish gray details just to mix it up. You can see back here, I've got this little wheel. I've got some little details in here. Just because everything's going to be dark bluish gray, I'm just trying to give it some definition. And we've also got, you know, some black pieces here, and these are some hinges. Those are light bluish gray. Eventually, once I kind of feel more confident with the design, I will swap those out for dark bluish gray. But the biggest challenge here has been getting the right angles. You know, I'm using 2x3s here. I've got this angle and the back angle have proved really difficult. So the design that I've settled on is, you know, I've got a length and I've got a vertical, which I'm really trying to hold. So I ended up using 1x4 or 2x4s, then 2x3, 2x4, and alternating those all the way down the back side. And it's not perfect, but I think, you know, it gets the geometry right. You know, as far as like where this angle point is, where this angle point is, and where this angle point is. And I'm going to flip this around to show you kind of what I have going on the inside. This is all temporary, but kind of think of this as me sketching or kind of molding in clay. I'm missing a leg here, hopefully it doesn't fall over. But I do intend to build an interior. This is the deck that will hold the 12 stormtroopers, and I'm actually going to use snowtroopers here, like in The Last Jedi. And I've got some Technic going here, and then this deck, there's a section up here where the two gunners will, they have controls up here in a little room, and they operate the main M6 Mega Caliber 6 cannon. Now I'm using a lot of these panel pieces you can see here, and really I'm trying to take up space. As we flip it around back to this side, you can kind of see them here, and they, you know, they use up a lot of space geometrically, but they are also lighter. Now, weight is something that I really have in mind as I go along, working on this build. You know, this thing has got to stand on legs, and we'll talk about legs later. But I'm really conscious of weight. And I also intend, and I don't know if I'm going to follow through with this or be able to, but I would like to have a body and have these side panels connect with just some Technic pins so I could actually snap those off. Now, I kind of had to set it up on my temporary thing here for this video, and it was really falling apart and it's flimsy, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold true to that. So that kind of brings me to a challenge of how am I going to access these interior rooms, and I do want to do that. I know I've seen another guy, the guy who built the, goes by Edge of Bricks right now. He's the guy that built the AT-M6 that Solid Brick Studios and BrickWiz used in their crate mocks, where he actually had some panels on some Technic lift arms that would kind of swing out. That's an idea that I kind of have in mind too, and maybe I address that when I go to the other side. Now, one really problematic section is right here. Really, because of the geometry, you've got an angle break that kind of goes along here, and then you've got one that goes up here, and then it's all sloping back. So really, this piece almost needs to be kind of rotated and flat and leaned back like that. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, so I've just kind of got these wedge plates in here for now, kind of as placeholders. We'll see what ideas I come up with. Now here's some of the detail I'm working up on this lower section, and I really did some kind of cool things here just to trying to give these indentations. But what I have is on the inside I've got bricks on the side, on this side and this side, and then I've got some of those door rail pieces and then some tiles to kind of create this little indentation kind of in the right spot. I'm pretty happy how that's turning out. Now you can see back here we've got this on hinges, and this is the part where it starts to kind of angle back. Really, it was a challenge to get this in the right location as far as forward and back, and also fighting this angle break here. But I've also created this seam, and you can see kind of some of these parts are spread out. But I wanted this seam in here because it's very distinct when you kind of look at the, you know, the little models. There is a gap there. I wanted to recreate that. Again, this is studs on the side along here, and then a row of plates, then a row of tiles to create that. Got some detail going here, just some various parts to kind of create this look of vents, or whatever these things are. And then this section here, I think I've got the right geometry or the right size of this opening, but I've got some new pictures. Somebody on Instagram goes by Lego Franco. He actually was at the Disney launch bay and saw the same model that I talked about in my previous video. He sent me like 30 great pictures of that model, so I've got some new images of what this section looks like, and I'm going to go back and kind of rework that to make it a little more accurate. So a problem with a project this size and this complicated as far as geometry goes, every time I come down here to my basement to start to work on it, the question is, what's next? What do I work on next? There kind of has to be a process or an order that I build things in, so that I can build one thing and that leads me on to the next. I had to start with the side panels like this to get the size. There's a lot more work that's going to happen, say, internally, but here I am. And what do I do next? I keep kind of going in different directions, but the where I'm leading to is right here, and the shoulder for the front arms. Now this is going to be complicated structurally, but I really can't build any more detail along here until I know what's happening, and I've got some pretty good ideas, and that'll probably be what I talk about next time. That also leads me to the internal structure. So I think I'm going to start working on this shoulder socket, and then the inside will really start to actually take some shape as far as what it's really going to look like, or kind of end up in the final. So once I get settled on that, and then maybe it's the leg, and then there's this kind of drive section that goes underneath here. I'll work on that, and I've got a back leg and the head. Now the head, that's something I have to get right, otherwise I think the whole build just falls apart. Alright, if you made it this far in the video, I think that's what I have to show for this week. My next video, probably some progress down here. Let me know if you have questions, or ideas. I'm always open to ideas as far as how to make this stronger. I intend to do Technic on the inside. I want this thing to be a beast. I want it to be strong and sturdy, but I don't want it to be overly heavy. Alright, I think that's what I have to show you for this video. Just want to say thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate the support. Lots of confidence from you guys, and I really appreciate that. Makes me feel like I can actually pull this thing off, and I'm so excited to actually finish this. I wish I could build it faster, but life happens. So I just want to say thanks for the support, everybody, and thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.